Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tell Your Story. We've been on about a month hiatus here, so I'm thrilled to bring you a new guest. My goal each week is to bring you somebody who inspires, encourages, or challenges me in one way or another and bring them to allow them to tell a piece of their story to you in hopes that it makes you brave enough to tell some of your story. Please forgive my voice this week as I have lost it and I'm slowly gaining it back. But enough about that. Today, I am thrilled to bring you my guest, Mark Ryan. Mark, thank you so much for being here. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are?
Thanks for having me first, Todd. Pleasure to be here. My name is Mark Ryan. I'm a Canadian and now I'm living in Abu Dhabi. So I'm living in the desert. I'm married. I have two little girls. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I am, if you want to put me in a box as a teacher, I am an art teacher and I'm as they call a specialist. So we're often seen as special. And I'm one of those. So PE crew out there, music, art, I got you. We're
I
special.
love it.
And that's the team I'm part of. Mark, Canadian in the desert. That's it.
I must be on a Canadian roll lately. You're like my second or third Canadian in like the last month. But you alluded to it. You kind of just glanced over it a little bit. You are Canadian. You are an educator, but you are not in Canada right now. How did you get from being where you were raised and grew up to now working overseas?
Okay, well, I actually grew up in a military family, so moving around was always part of my life.
Mhm.
Uh, Went to, I would say, 8 schools, but I'm probably exaggerating. It was probably more like 4. But I moved around a lot, lived on Air Force bases, and I lived in the States for a while, lived in Montgomery, Alabama, lived in small towns in Canada, and then I ended up in Ottawa. So uh, the idea of like living abroad was kind of always something that was intriguing to me, but I never really planned it out. And when people hear my story here tonight, they'll see that I'm a big fan of saying yes and showing up to things and not over planning things. Because trust me, if you asked me 15 years ago, would I be living in Abu Dhabi? I wouldn't even know where that was. So yeah,
Right.
it was 2000 summer. Well, no, let's go winter 2005. I was in teachers college, and everyone was talking about going abroad. That was the buzz, and there was a big international teaching fair coming to my school. So I said yes. I jumped on it and got an opportunity to go to Hong Kong, and I didn't think about it. Like a lot of people think about their decisions a lot, maybe too much. And I think about them not enough. But so I said yes. And summer 2006, I was on a plane leaving Canada, leaving my family, leaving my friends, and saying yes to an opportunity. And
Wow.
15 years later, that's that.
Well, clearly it's worked out in your favor. I mean, obviously you love it. You're still overseas doing all this kind of stuff. Now, you mentioned you were an art teacher. Have you always been drawn to the arts and what arts specifically?
Yeah, not really. And I tell this to my students too. Like, it goes back to trying to know where you're going to be in 5, 10 years, and just kind of living in the moment. I didn't know what I wanted to be as a student. I just knew what I didn't really want to be or what I didn't really excel at. And the arts and being kind of a creative thinker, I pushed towards that later in high school and decided, you know what, I'm going to try art school. I'm going to try to build a portfolio. Let's see what happens. And so it was, I don't know, maybe a year left of high school that I decided I wanted to kind of put a portfolio together. So I found an artist that would help me and support me to build that, and I became a painter. Boom,
Wow.
just like that. Became a painter.
But
um,
what I love so
go
much
for it.
about this though is when you work with so many adults, you often hear them use that excuse of "I'm not creative, I wasn't born creative," like it's something you're born with. You are a
Mm.
perfect example of not even being something you were necessarily drawn to right away, but that you've worked at and grown into. Do you use that when talking to your kids about how to do art?
I think with my kids, it's not about doing art. It's never about doing art. I tell them it's about the idea. You know, it's about expressing a message. It's about a communication, right? It's just another language. So it's just getting them to be risk takers to put their ideas in any kind of shape they want. So if they want to draw it, they want to paint it, they want to sculpt it, and I think my art partner, I would call her Lise Farquhar. Shout out to you. Um, we're good at that. It's just like giving kids a voice and pushing them to express themselves in any way they feel in any way they feel possible in the art room. So I don't push anybody to be a painter. I don't push anybody to be an illustrator. I just push you to be creative and to tolerate being in my class for 45 minutes. That's it.
Well, I love that you made the comment right there that one of your goals is to give them a voice.
Mm.
Being somebody who grew up in a military family and having to move and go to different schools, did you always feel like you had a voice that was valued?
No, I never had a voice. I think it's something that I've had to come to learn a little bit, to be honest. And I do benefit from people telling me what to do sometimes. Like I do kind of lean to that sometimes, lead to people who have a really strong sense of where they are, what their vision is, what their path is, and I can kind of jump on people like that and kind of follow their lead. But I've learned through this international teaching gig that, and sorry if I called it a gig and people don't call it a gig, but that, when you make students part of the process, you go to those places that you never thought you'd go to. And I think we know that. I think that's kind of sounds common sense, but it kind of goes back to that whole journey of where I am today. You just kind of have to take chances and support people along the way. And I think when you give students a voice in the classroom, you go to really, really exciting places. So, yeah, props to student voice.
So, when you think of the man you are today, what do you think is one thing that has happened in your past that really contributed to the person you are?
I say yes. I shout out to people. If someone talks to me and gives me an idea, I respond to it. And I'll give you a story because I always like connecting things to stories rather than me just making stuff up and trying to act cool. Sorry if I'm also doing that. In 2000, I guess it would be 2011, I was in Hong Kong and I was doing a mural on the side of a wall in Lang Kwai Fong. And if you know Lang Kwai Fong, you know it is the bar district in Hong Kong. It's just hopping all the time. So I was out there, I was doing a mural, I was painting with one of my friends, and someone went by and they stopped and they said, you know what, these murals would look really good on a TV set. And could you come and sit down and have coffee with me and my partner? And we want to talk about how we could do murals on TV sets. I said, sure. I don't know anything about murals, really. I'm just here having fun. I don't know anything about TV sets, but I'm going to do it. So the next day I contacted them again. I followed up. Like, when are we doing that? When are we having lunch? When are we having coffee? When are we doing murals on TV sets? And I sat down with them, and murals into TV sets turned into an idea of me being a language coach for actors and artists.
Wow.
30 minutes later turned into me having my own television show, hosting an English program for over 1 million kids every single day in mainland China and Hong Kong. So boom, it's about, doing what you love, getting out there. And when people say like, hey, I have an idea, you say, let's hear it.
So you're really good about like just glancing over things like that are really cool and a big deal. You just said you hosted a TV show in front of 1 million kids in in mainland China.
Yeah, I had a TV show from 2011 to 2014. Actually, it ended the day my daughter was born, my first daughter. So December 4th was my last episode. And yeah, it was called The Show. It was like a Sesame Street type show. It ran in Hong Kong for about 40 years. And it was called After School ICU, or Fong Hop ICU would be the Chinese in translation. And my segment, I had a few segments in it because the show kind of built over time, but it was the main one was called Mark Up Your English. And it was me in an English room, and an uncle would bring two kids in, and we just have fun conversational English. It was just about making language accessible to kids and making it fun. It wasn't maybe you could say it was like thematic, like I would come in December and we'd kind of talk about Christmassy kind of words, or, I would say stuff that I normally say during that kind of winter season. And yeah, let me explain Hong Kong television for a second, if I can. There are two channels. So there's ATV and there's TVB. So whatever channel they tune on, you're getting a huge cut of the population there, which is 8 million people. And they just love their local culture. They love Cantonese language. They love the programs they grew up on, and they pass that down to their kids. So I was lucky enough to just be kind of pushed into something that people valued already, So I was standing on the shoulders of giants, I guess you could say. And then my show got pushed into parts of mainland China, and Mr. Mark became a thing.
So have you ever been recognized on the street?
Dude, yeah, man. Well,
you're like a celebrity over there.
I don't know how long this program is, but before I had a television show, I was in a very high profile relationship as well in Hong Kong. So I was dating an actress. Her mother was like Oprah. Her dad was like, I don't know, I can't compare him to a singer, but I was part of the entertainment business already because I was part of that kind of lifestyle, that kind of family vibe. And yeah, people grew up with that family. So they knew me for jumping into that as well. So yeah, for a period of my life, people knew Mr. Mark in Hong Kong. Shout out to all you that do.
There you go. Shout out to all your Chinese fans. That's so cool. I had no idea that about you. And so now thinking about, you've got all these great opportunities. Why stick with education?
Because I think like in the end, you try things out and things are good. Like television is fun. And I wasn't just doing television. I was doing MC work. I was writing curriculum for English language learning centers. I was being spokesperson for brands like Adidas in Hong Kong because I'm a runner as well. And I was just always involved with education. And then when I had a family, I decided, I'm going to put a little stability around this kind of profession. And I think teaching does give stability. You can be an actor. It's a fun job, but it's not always, your show could end. That's it. And I know teaching can end as well, but I decided to push into international teaching more, or to go back into it in 2000. I guess it's 2015, summer 2015. I moved to Abu Dhabi and joined Raha International School, Talim family, and just put the same work ethic and the same energy that I was putting into all of those other things just into the classroom. And I think all those things benefited me because, like I was telling my father, I was talking to him before coming on this podcast, is that before every class, I try to tell a story. I try to invite students into my life, and I try to let them know something that I did, because your life is not, dude, you're a teacher. Now sit there for 20 years and don't do anything. Be an actor, be a singer, be a teacher, be a runner, do all of it. Why not? Who's stopping you?
Well, you seem so sure of yourself and who you are and what you kind of want to do, but also kind of leaving it open where, like you're not saying no to things. So my question then would be to you is, do you find yourself also dealing with that doubt creeping in, or those moments where you feel like maybe I don't know how to word it, but do you find yourself struggling with that doubt as well sometimes?
Um, no, I don't think I struggle with doubt, but I did struggle for a long time on how to be creative in Abu Dhabi.
Mm,
I left the city of Hong Kong that I was in for 10 years, that I knew so many people, I had done so much. And like we were saying before, did people recognize you? They recognized me enough that doors were opened,
mm,
or I could say, hey, I have an idea for doing a radio show during the Olympics. And yeah, I have a television show, so let me do it. And I did a radio show during the Olympics when it was in Beijing. So like, I left all those easy opportunities, and I didn't know how to reach people in Abu Dhabi because, the things I say sound kind of out in left field to some
right.
people, right? Especially if they have no idea what's going on there. So that was kind of a struggle. And Lise Farquhar, my art teaching partner, she'd know that because I was talking about YouTube channels. I was talking about doing this. I kept asking my students in my class, hey, what should I do? Should I launch a YouTube channel? Should I do a podcast? Should I do this? Should I do that? And so I was really searching for something. So I guess that could be a little bit of doubt, but I was just kind of really hitting the ground to find out what I could do to to feed that creative energy. And, in Abu Dhabi, we now have the Louvre Abu Dhabi, and I'm part of that education panel there. We have an amazing gallery, Manor at Al Saadiyat. Shout out to you guys. So there was things that could be done, and I just slowly started to get into it. And that's why I pushed even harder onto Twitter. And I think my first big post that reached educators was me ranting about what do you guys want on Twitter? Because I just feel like the education landscape here is just, oh man, I don't know. It's just too thick. I can't even navigate through it. And
Right.
so I wanted to know what people were doing. So that led into whatever I'm doing on Twitter now.
So I love that you lead into that because that's what I wanted to ask about next. So you've got this whole hashtag that you are really active on called
Mm.
Run Rant. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it happened again the same way everything else has kind of happened. It wasn't even really my idea. It was a shout out from someone in my DM box after I made a post kind of ranting after a run because I'm a runner. So I went for a run. I got on my phone. I did a little vlog about what do you guys want? Do you want to see my kids? Do you want to see examples of my classroom? Do you want to see old pictures of me being famous? Like, what do you guys want? And people responded to that, and someone said, that what you did was like a run and a rant. And I thought, well, that's a kind of a cool hashtag. Like, I like that kind of phrase. So the next week I went and did a run and a rant, and three other people jumped on, and we decided to do actually like a run and rant series for runners, actually, initially. So we were trying to do collective running to make a marathon, to make an ultra marathon. So I run 5K, you run 5, and we just added up. But then people started showing up, like just walking, swimming, jogging, sitting beside the pool. You know who you are. And, it's turned into just a thing that I realized that there are so many educators out there that want to share their voice, their perspective, but they didn't really know how to or where to on Twitter, just like me. And they also really wanted to be active. They wanted some kind of group that would support them to get out and do that marathon or do that walk around the block. And so it became this thing. So every week I started launching a word, and we would all talk about it. So, this week it's about identity, and people can tell me, how does identity work with their family? How does it work in their classroom? How does it work with their kids? Whatever, just let us know what you're doing and get physically active, be healthy. And I think that's what a good role model is. So boom, run and rant community. Love you.
I love that. And I think you do such great work there. And I love the different perspective you took in trying to begin that conversation with people, more of a, what are you looking for? And then let's just talk. It doesn't have to be a certain time or day or anything like that. We can just have that time to have that commonality where we can just share our own thoughts and feelings. And I think that's awesome to have that. And it's a needed avenue. So, I always try to end on the same question.
Are we done already?
I like to end a little differently tonight because it's your birthday. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
So, knowing this is a start of a new year, in a way, because it's a new birthday, what is one goal you have for yourself this year, or one thing you are looking to better yourself in?
Well, I became a middle leader last year. I became a head of specialist at Raha International School in Abu Dhabi. And I started taking middle leadership courses, started doing a lot of professional development on my own. So my goal is to actually be a better leader, to help listen to what people in my group, where they want to go, not where I want them to go, and try to help push them to do that. And I really want to see if I can encourage more people to be, number one, physically active, and number two, share their perspectives. And let's go with number three is personal PD. And I know that's a buzzword. I know that's $1 million-billion business right now, but I think it's important. I think people need to go out and access knowledge and access the things they're passionate about, join communities, and I hope I can be someone that can help people to do that, can lead people and push them towards where they want to go. So yeah, that's it, man. What are you gonna do?
For this year? Oh
Go
Lord,
for it.
I got so much. I just started a new job on July 1st, so jumping into all
Congratulations.
that, but thank you. Well, Mark, I love the work you're doing. I think you're a needed voice. You're doing something a little bit different. You bring in all this energy. Every time I interact with you online or see your stuff online, I can feel the energy coming through it, and that's really what I admire about you, because I think too often things have just become stagnant or complaining or all this other stuff, but you do it in such a cool way. So I appreciate you so much for making time on your birthday to have this chat with me. So thank you for all you're doing.
And I just have one birthday request because I think it is my birthday, as you said, and this podcast is kind of a gift. But if you could look into the camera and promise my Run and Rant community that we will see you out on a Run and Rant this week, can we see you? Are you going to be joining us? No voice or full voice, whatever you can share. Because Lise Farquhar is bringing the topic Tuesday tomorrow, and I want to see you there this week.
I know
Is that a
you've been
birthday
giving me a
gift?
hard time about this, and
Come
so
on, man.
I'm not a runner, but I will join in this week just because it's your birthday, and I'll figure out how to survive a run and talk with this voice after running. But I'll figure it out this week.
There we go. I appreciate
Awesome.
it, and thanks for having me on, Tada. I love it, and keep up the good work, dude.
Well, and thank you for everybody who has joined in by either watching or listening to another episode of Tell Your Story. Make sure you check out and follow Mark Ryan with all the great work he's doing online. And make sure you check out any past episodes with guests that I've had in the past on iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube. Thank you again for joining us, and join us in next week. And hopefully you heard something today that made you brave enough to get out there and tell your story, because every story matters. Have a great night.